The street smelled of burned wood and iron. Men with soot on their faces hugged the rubble and counted the seconds between flashes like a prayer. From the corner of that ruin, a boxy silhouette slid forward, low and deliberate, its armored face a blunt promise of violence. For the soldiers watching, that shape was less a machine than an answer. The Sturm Infanteriegeschütz 33b had come, and with it, the possibility of taking ground that had refused to be taken by men and mortar alone. What shifted in those narrow alleys was not the weight of steel alone, but a new way of thinking about assault. Urban fighting had always been a test of bodies and nerves, stairs, basements, the dark mouths of cellars. But the 33B reframed the puzzle. Mounted on a shortened chassis that kept it low and compact, armed with a short 75mm infantry gun and protected by a sloped casemate, it was designed to stand forward where tanks dared not linger and where ordinary guns could not aim. Its arrival changed how commanders planned, how squads moved, and how defenders learned to fear the sound of recoil and the smell of hot metal in their rooms. At first, the crews treated it like a cursed god. Men were packed into a tight box with barely enough room to move. The gun's recoil knocked breath from lungs, and the casemate's interior pressed heat and smoke into faces. They learned to work as if inside a church pew, passing shells along a practiced chain, listening for the whispered signals that meant danger or opportunity. In action, the vehicle became a blunt instrument and a surgeon's scalpel at once, able to batter a corner of a building and then, with a single well-placed shot, open a living room to infantry. The psychological effect on defenders was immediate. When a doorway and the wall around it vanished in a thunderous cough of dust, the people inside stopped believing could hold the line. What most readers do not expect is how those crews adapted their machine to the human geography of cities. They discovered that the 33B's limited gun traverse made it dangerous to rely on its arm alone. Instead, crews coordinated forward with assault pioneers and flamethrower teams. Their vehicle rolling to a position where the gun could be used at point blank to suppress a stairwell while men moved in through shattered windows. This was not brute force. It was choreography born of necessity. The vehicle's low silhouette allowed it to hug broken facades, slide into ruined courtyards, and, in moments of improvisation, use rubble as a mask. In one instance, a crew used the staccato blast of their radio to signal a baker's boy turned runner to lead them to a half-ruined bakery whose oven tunnels proved perfect for moving undetected. Those small improvisations accumulated into a striking new doctrine: armored infantry in intimate collaboration, using firepower to make doors where doors had been. There are mechanical quirks that only men who lived inside the beast could tell you about. The loader preferred certain shells when fighting in close quarters because the flash and concussion of a different charge could collapse a fragile stairwell and trap his own men. The commander often wedged a scrap of leather against the periscope to muffle creaks that otherwise betrayed their approach. Some crews painted the casemate inside with a patch of matte black to cut glare and soothe frayed nerves during long night waits. These are small things, but they mattered when men counted on one another to survive a day of house-to-house combat. The middle of that long campaign brought an odd reversal that serves as the story's hidden pivot. Engineers had designed the vehicle to give infantry close direct fire. But what commanders discovered amid shattered blocks was that the 43-ton world of armor could be made into a portable shield for civilians too. In one episode, soldiers in a battered town used the 33B to create a moving barrier, driving between a school and a row of shell-shocked families as they were evacuated. The vehicle's presence silenced snipers who had taken to perching in attics. Its bulk between gun and human reduced casualties and allowed ambulances to pass. The irony was bitter. A machine meant to break defenses sometimes became the only thing between the frightened and annihilation. That realization reframed the way the vehicle was used in raids and clearances, and for some commanders it became a moral instrument as well as a tactical one. The revelation that changed doctrine arrived not in a laboratory, but in a column of smoke and shouted commands. A crew advancing through a twisting road found themselves ambushed from a cluster of houses. The gun could not traverse far enough to hit both houses without exposing its flank. Men crouched beside the casemate, and the commander did something that would echo after the war. He brought the vehicle close, almost cheek to brick, and trained men to pour through the dust in timed bursts, while the gun suppressed a single choke point. The assault succeeded because the 33B was used as a living platform for combined arms, not as a mobile bunker. From that day forward, assault groups trained to think of the vehicle as a team member. Its gun to be paired with bayonets and explosives, its armor a moving wall to be used for cover. That was the aha moment. Its real value was not brute penetration, but the intimacy it enabled between armor and infantry. Tension accumulated toward one final vivid night that serves as the story's climax. A city block had become a microcosm of the entire problem. Siege-weary men, blind alleys, the distant wail of a siren. The assault plan was audacious. A single 33B would drive into the square, draw fire, and allow 3 assault teams to clear the surrounding buildings in a matter of minutes. Shells thudded against the casemate, dust filled the gunner's viewport, and the loader felt the taste of metal in his mouth. When the gun roared, it felt like a living thing, letting out a defiant breath. Men flowed out through the breach it made, knives flashing, grenades popping in the dark. For a short, terrible span, the whole block became a tunnel of noise. Screams, the mechanical clank of the vehicle seeking purchase on broken cobbles, the breath of men holding on. By dawn, the square was seized, but the cost was visible in singed uniforms, in hands without feeling, in a crew that would forever after flinch at the sound of a distant bang. When the smoke cleared, doctrine had shifted. Commanders who had been wary of mixing iron and close quarters began training assault groups in the new method. Bring a low, well-armored assault gun forward as an anchor, use its direct fire to shape the battlefield, and then pour men through the breaches it made. Production lines could not supply enough of these machines to make every urban fight comfortable, and crews were exhausted. Yet the lessons stuck. Post-war militaries studying the battles saw a pattern. Where armor and infantry trained together, casualties were fewer and objectives were secured faster. That is the quiet legacy of the 33B, the way it forced humans to rethink proximity, to accept that surviving close combat required machines and men to breathe together. The vehicle itself faded with the war. Factories slowed, crews grew thin, and the ruins were left to those who returned. But the tactical imprint remained. Decades later, veterans would walk those same streets and say, in voices rough from smoke and time, that the machine did not win the war by itself. It changed the ritual of assault, rewired how men approached closed spaces, and taught commanders a lesson that cost many to learn. Urban ground must be taken by a chain of quick cooperative moves, each one trusting another to live. The 33B did not make war humane, but it made it more disciplined, more deliberate, and in the collapsed geometry of cities, it showed a new path through the rubble.